34, so I would like to get this meeting going. I'd like to welcome everyone to the City of Beaver Dam Common Council meeting. And first, let's do the roll call.
Anderson,
Here.
Bonnet,
Here.
Burnett,
Here.
Burry, Flaherty,
Here.
Fisher,
Yep.
Gansky,
Here.
Hiley, Keel,
Here.
Olson,
Present.
Perkins,
Here.
Wild,
Here.
Yuds,
Here.
Zop.
Here.
And now will you all rise, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next up, we have our informal public hearing. This is the time for anyone who's either here in person or online who wishes to speak to Common Council about any issue. This is the time to do so. So is there anyone who is interested in coming up to the mic or over Zoom speaking to the Common Council? Yep. And there's a button on the mic. There should be, there you go.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Hello. Hello. Hi. Stephen Bennett is my name. I am with my wife, the new owners of the 219 North Spring Street, former Beaver Dam Theater. And I just wanted to let everybody know that I'm really happy to be here. We've been so well welcomed here by everyone. Some of my friends back here that are my new friends. It's amazing here. We love it, especially the part about how Beaver Dam was once, what was it, the most common city in all the United States, or what was that title? Roger brought it up in his video. What was it? No, Beaver Dam was like considered the most ordinary American town in all of the United States. Yeah, the small. So that I heard that and that was great. Anyway, I'm taking care of that old building on 219 North Spring Street. I'm sure every one of you has been in there. Who has not been in that building? You've never been in that building? Everybody else has been in that. Isn't that weird? No. You haven't. It's everybody I talked to has been in that building, and they all have a story, and it's really interesting. But I'm here just to advocate for the building, for the property as a historical building in town. My wife and I have put in what we had to the building, and that's all we have. Now it's going to be a place to come see my artwork. I'm an artist, a painter. But now the building needs help. And I'm not asking you for money. I'm just trying to say, hey, let's just think about it. Maybe there's a way the building can be preserved a little bit better because it needs gutters and roof work. And I can't get up there anymore. It's getting a little, some of you probably seen me up there. So I'm just advocating for the building for the future generations, not for me. We'll use it 20 years maybe, and then it's going to be, up for grabs. But it would be nice to keep it going in the future because I've heard many people say it's their favorite building in town. I didn't know that when I came here, but I'm very proud to be working on it. And thank you for your time, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Anyone else, either in person or online, who would like to speak to council? And one last time, anyone who would like to come before council and speak? Okay, then that closes the informal public hearing. Next up, we have announcements. Anyone in the council? Anyone have an announcement, something they want to share? Tracy, go ahead.
Just an FYI for everyone, our office, the clerk's office, will be closed next week during business hours. We are both attending the Clerks Institute through UW Green Bay all next week. So we'll be in after hours here and there. We'll check our emails when we can, but we pretty much will be closed next week.
Okay, so I'm going to want to plan ahead this week if you have clerk business. Very good. And finally, I just have a few friendly community reminders. Next Sunday, July 13th, from 9 to 3 o'clock is our annual A Day in the Park Craft Fair, sponsored by the Women's Affiliate. It's a great draw. We get lots of people from out of town, but it's also lots of fun for those of us who live here. They've added, if you haven't been there in a few years, they continue to grow. They've added free kids activities, a bouncy house and face painting. They also have live music, and there will be food served. So get the family out there and spend a day in Swan City. And then also, don't forget, if you haven't been to Beaver Dam Muskies performance, they perform every Sunday at 6 o'clock in Tahoe Park. And it's a great opportunity to see an outstanding team this year. They're doing really well. So good. Any other announcements? Okay, then we will move on to the disposition of the minutes from our last Common Council meeting of June 16th. Can I get a motion? Alders,
I'll second.
thank you, Alder Bennett and Alder Zopp. Any comments or questions, additions to the minutes? Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes as printed in your packet, so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the minutes pass. Next up, we have Proclamation of July as Park and Recreation Month. And so I will read the proclamation. The Office of the Mayor proclaims the designation of July as Park and Recreation Month. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the city of Beaver Dam. And whereas our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region. And whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. And whereas parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of the air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas the City of Beaver Dam, Dodge County recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources, now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Beaver Dam that July is recognized as Park and Recreation Month in the City of Beaver Dam. Next is our city administrator's report.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Just a quick thank you for your efforts last week, Monday. For everybody that wasn't aware, the council met in a special workshop setting and reviewed the full-time city administrator position, recruitment efforts, and that those materials, the results of your efforts from last Monday went live on July 1st. So the following Tuesday, we are in active recruitment at this time for your next city administrator. And just wanted to say thanks again for your extra time. I know it's another night away from your day life and another evening given to the city. So thanks for that. And I'll answer any questions that you might have, but just wanted you to know that we're in active recruitment at this time.
Okay, no questions. Next up is communications.
We have none this evening.
Okay, then the next item on the agenda is the approval of the bills from June 13th through July 3rd. Can I get a motion? Oh, wait, sorry, let's read it first. You want to? Okay, the amount of the bills this month were $1,079,308.42. Can I get a motion? Alder Burnett? Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Alder Gansky, thank you. Questions, comments? All those in favor of approving the paying of the bills, so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The bills will be paid. Very good. Next up are resolutions.
Resolution number 42-2025, a resolution approving a 2025-2026 collective bargaining agreement between the city of Beaver Dam and local number 3432 International Association of Firefighters.
Okay, and I believe, Chief Wesley, were you going to speak to that?
All right, hopefully everybody had a chance to review the proposal and the red line version of the contract. I'll just go over the highlights quick, and then if you guys have any questions from the presentation or from your reading, just please let me know. So first of all, as you go through this, just looking here, I think we see a significant number, around 14 different items. The majority of the items that were discussed during negotiations were language cleanup. There were a couple of ambiguous clauses that allowed some things such as 2 people on vacation and 2 more people on compensatory time at the same time. We cleaned up a lot of that language. Highlights though that really everybody I think should know about. Hopefully everybody's aware that several years ago we changed our residency from 15 miles to 45. Unfortunately, the net outcome of that was us losing employees to outside that 15 miles. So we actually had more people move away than actually live in town. So that was a loss for us as a department. So one of my priorities coming in was to get that back. We hire community members. We want our people to be involved in the community. So we asked the union if they'd be interested in bringing that back to 15 miles. Part of this package involves all new employees hired after the 1st of this year to live within 15 miles of the jurisdictional boundaries. Included in that, since we were asking for something, they're going to receive an increase of 1 hour callback pay. So when they go home in the morning and we need to call them back, we have to pay them something, right? This just increases the amount that they're going to get paid. Like I said, a lot of other contract language was in there that was just cleaning stuff up. The exact same raises that was included to the police department, so that 4% is included in this, along with a new wage scale that incorporates the longevity that used to be separate from the wage scale. So that's all included in here. Just trying to think if there's anything other significant. The other big thing, I guess, that I'll mention is our compensatory time. If you guys recall, you approved a contract with PD where you're going to pay out all that compensatory time at the end of the year. PD was light years ahead of us on this. We currently give our employees at the fire department the state limit, which is, I believe, 480 hours they can accumulate. It's a budgeting nightmare. So somebody can earn this and they can carry it over and carry it over and carry it over. The union has agreed to a system where we will pay that out at the end of this year, and then every year they'll get that paid out. So there'll be no more carryover of compensatory time. So that's a big deal for us budget wise. And I know working with Kayla, that's something that's been on the top of her list for a long time because that's a significant liability that's out there. Outside of that, I guess if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, seeing no questions. Thank you, Chief Wesley. I think we are ready to vote. Can I get a motion? Alder Fisher?
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Thank you. And a second, Alder Zopp? And any other comments or questions or? Okay, then we're ready to vote.
Anderson,
Aye.
Bonnet,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Flaherty,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Yansky,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins.
Aye.
Wild. Aye. Yads,
Aye.
Zap.
Aye.
And the motion carries. Next up is Resolution 66.
Resolution number 66-2025, a preliminary resolution declaring intent to exercise special assessment powers under section 66.0703 paren 4 Wisconsin statutes.
Okay, I believe, Todd, you're going to speak to this?
Sure. So as the majority of you probably aware, Madison Street from Curry to Chatham is currently under construction. Improvements include reconstruction of the pavement structure, including curb and gutters, sidewalks, driveways, storm sewer, sanitary sewer, and water. In your packets is the preliminary report on estimated special assessments. Per current city policy, adjacent property owners are being assessed for non-compliant sidewalks, new driveway aprons, consulting engineering, non-compliant private water services, and non-compliant private sanitary laterals. This went through Operations Committee on June 16th, unanimous approval. Obviously, it's here tonight. If it goes through tonight, we would schedule a public hearing for the next Operations Committee meeting. So that said, staff does recommend approval as presented.
Okay, any questions for Todd? Or any discussion? I know this has been in the works. We've seen this before, so nothing new. Okay, then I think we're ready to call the roll.
Can I get a motion? and a second?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I get a motion? Yeah, that would be helpful. Thank you, Alder Bonnet. And a second, Alder Perkins.
Second.
Thank you. Now we're ready to vote.
Bonnet,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Flaherty,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Gansky,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild. Aye. Yads,
Aye.
Zap,
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
And the motion carries. Next up is Resolution 67.
Resolution number 67-2025, a resolution approving the train turnkey proposal for chiller replacement at the city municipal building.
Okay, before we discuss, can I get a motion? Alder Yads?
I'll make that motion.
And can I get a second? Alder Keel? Thank you. And I believe, Todd, are you going to speak to this one or? Okay, John, do you want to speak to this? I know we've talked about this in the past, but.
What you have before you is a proposal to replace the aging chiller at this facility. The chiller we have is 25 years old. It's an R22 system. It's been rebuilt once at about year 15. And its parts are becoming obsolete, as is the Freon. So we want to replace that unit. We're looking for a fall install to not cause interruption on the building, as it's pretty comfortable in here tonight and it's working. That's what we're looking for. Anybody's got any questions, be glad to entertain them.
Okay, any comments, any discussion? Alder Bonnet?
I guess not from a disclosure point of view, but from an information point of view, at the operations meeting, there was a discussion on the relationship of this to the possible replacement of the fire station and this whole building. And would we want to put money forth towards this, knowing that potentially down the road we could, well, nobody knows what's going to happen to the whole facility, and I don't think anybody does. So there was that discussion, and following that discussion and John's explanation in terms of what's our risk in doing it or not doing it, as I recall, it was a unanimous vote to approve. So just so you know that there was that conversation. That's all.
Thank you. Alder Burnett.
Yeah, what's the lead time on this?
Gonna take about 16 weeks to get a unit. We're looking for like an October, early November install.
Good. Any other questions or comments? Okay. I think we're ready to call the roll.
Burnett,
Thanks, John.
Aye.
Flaherty,
Aye.
Fisher,
No.
Yansky,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild. Aye. Yads,
Aye.
Zop,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Burnett.
Aye.
And the motion carries. Next up is Resolution 68.
Resolution number 68 twenty twenty-five, a resolution granting a Class B license to Beaver Dam 3829 Inc., doing business as IHOP.
Can I get a motion? Alder Burnett.
Motion to approve.
How about a second? Alder Gansky.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or discussions? I know this went through admin. Yes, Alder Flaherty.
How does beer and wine go with pancake? I'm just curious. That's all.
Yeah, yeah.
answer that.
Alder, you have some experience with this, Alder Burnett? You sound like.
It's okay.
Alder Zop, did you want to add?
So IHOP is our understanding is IHOP and Applebee's are combining in that new location. And they would need a liquor license for that combined atmosphere of a Applebee's IHOP. So.
Yeah, I was going to say mimosas, but that's about, so.
Thank you very much. That was only a curious question.
Okay, Alder Anderson.
How many do we have left after issuing this one?
Two,
Two.
Okay.
besides the reserve.
Okay.
Good. Any other questions or comments? Okay, then we're ready to call the roll.
Flaherty,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Yansky,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild. Aye. Yads,
Aye.
Zop,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Burnett.
Aye.
And the motion carries. Next up is Resolution 69.
Resolution number 69 twenty twenty-five, a resolution to deny the claim of Sharon Russell for damages incurred from a trip and fall incident at or near 933 South Lincoln Avenue on August 16th, 2024.
Okay, can I get a motion? Alder Yads.
I'll make that motion.
And a second? Alder Zop.
I'll second.
Thank you. I don't know, I know this went through admin, correct? If, Alder Zop, if you want to comment, or I don't know if, yeah.
So this was sent to me in the mail. It wasn't sent to the city. So I forwarded it to Tracy, who forwarded it to your insurer, who recommended denial because they are past the 120 days from the happening of the event as required by the statute. So this would just be the denial of the claim.
So good. Any questions or comments? Oh, Alder Burnett?
Well, just, I don't, was this discussed in the past here or not?
The,
This incident?
it was discussed at admin.
It was discussed in admin, yes, before tonight, yes. So given the statute of limitations had passed, we didn't want to set a precedent. So we accepted the attorney's recommendation to deny.
Yeah, because by law, we only have to accept a case 120, after 120 day, they have a 120-day window. And this was what, 10 months, I believe, since, so it was well outside of that. So that's the reason for the denial.
No, and I appreciate, and I don't want to belabor anything, but like from my view, I'm sitting here reading this. I mean, was this a sprained ankle or was it catastrophic surgery? I mean, I don't, you know, for
don't
those of
know.
us who are on the administrative team, we don't know.
We don't know either.
We don't
Yeah.
know.
Oh, you don't know?
No, there was a letter from her insurer that was sent directly to me. I asked Tracy if she had seen anything about it before and she said no. So this was the first any of us had seen it.
So yeah, yeah. Okay. So if there aren't any other questions or comments, I believe we're ready to read the roll.
Fisher.
Aye.
Yansky,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild. Aye. Yads,
Aye.
Zap,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Onet,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Flaherty.
Aye.
So the motion carries. Next up, resolution number 70.
Resolution number 70-2025, a resolution approving a temporary Class B license for the American Legion Baseball Tournament.
Can I get a motion? Alder Fisher
Make a motion to approve.
and a second, Alder Burnett. Thank you. Questions or comments? Alder Zap.
Just wanted to point out that while this event is happening on school property, at the high school diamond, facility, baseball facility, they had gone, the organizers had gone to the school board to get approval to have liquor on school property for this event. And they will be complying with, city policy on how to control ID and control for liquor, within, the event. So we did approve this at committee.
Good. Any questions or comments? Okay, then we're ready to call the roll.
Yansky,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson, Perkins,
Aye.
Wild. Aye. Yads,
Aye.
Zap.
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Onet,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Flaherty.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
So the motion carries. Finally, our last resolution, resolution number 71.
Resolution number 71-2025, a resolution approving a secondhand dealer license to Jim's Coins.
Can I get a motion? Alder Burnett.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. And a second? Alder Yads.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Questions or discussion? I know this also went before admin this evening.
There were no concerns brought up about Jim's, coins.
Yeah, 'cause it's just a renewal, correct, Tracy? Yeah. Oh, okay, I think we're ready to call the roll.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild. Aye. Yads,
Aye.
Zap,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Onet,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Flaherty,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Yansky.
Aye.
And the motion carries. Next up, we have discussion and possible action items. The first one is we have a presentation by members of the Hometown Plan regarding a downtown plaza with possible action. So I'm going to call Jim Bradley to the mic.
Hi, this is Jim Bradley. I live at 424 North Pleasant Street. When the first initial request went out for people, community members to be part of the Hometown Plan, I joined and was a member of it. Since then, and we want to thank you. Can you pull up my PowerPoint, please, there, Todd? Okay. We can just go through the slide. So what we did, we had a lot of members, you're all familiar with it. I mean, you just approved the comprehensive plan as effective of last month, which we thank you very much. The Hometown Committee, we had a lot of active volunteers. And as you can see here we still have a lot of active members. I mean, we have Heather and Margene and Christy and Chico. I don't know Mike's here, but Ken and a lot of other people that are here. Hi, Tracy. I didn't see you back there. And so over the past, since we've been, all the information was presented and the comprehensive plan was put into place, we have continued our activity and meeting on a couple different things. One of which you're already familiar with, which is the bicycle routes. MSA, you approved money for MSA to start analyzing how we can better provide bicycle access through the community. And actually, we're reading again a couple days from now to go further on that. But the second area of emphasis that we all started to we had the most interest in was the continuation of working on how do we make downtown more presentable, and draw people into the downtown. So if you can change the thing. Okay, so in summary, from what we went through before, we had small town feel, we had community events and activities, venues. We had a lot of things that we were wanting to see and love about Beaver Dam. Next slide. If you think about it, the park amenities, streets, community unification, a lot of things can revolve and help support a centralized community center activity area in the downtown. Next. So this is directly out of the comprehensive plan. Objectives from the comprehensive plan that sort of fall in and support what we're thinking about doing with a downtown plaza. Revitalize downtown, establish better riverfront parks. You can read them all yourselves. Improve access to the Beaver Dam River. Create downtown green space and access to Beaver Dam River. And so these are the activities and stuff. So we went around and a lot of the members here, Margene, myself, and others, looked at other communities in this part of Wisconsin as to what other communities have done with the downtown revitalization and stuff, and how to bring more people downtown. Watertown, Wisconsin, has just finished up what they thought was best for their community. It's an outdoor community space, green space, and it connects with Rock River. Next one. This is what it looked like before. So this is what they gave up, old buildings downtown, to provide a community space and provide an open area. Next. This is what it looks like today. You have an upper plaza, which has more of a hardscape, and the next one shows the lower plaza. Okay, a lot of green space. This is directly adjacent to Rock River, very similar to what we've done. We also looked at what Sheboygan is doing with their park. They're redoing it. They're also redoing a lot of other things in a lot of different areas. So we just sort of followed up with all this research and what we needed. By the way, Watertown spent $6 million on that project, and it took them 10 years. What we're proposing here is nowhere as long as that or as expensive as that. So what we learned is we need the community support. And as you can see here, we have a good representative of the community and people who are willing to work on this. We learned that we had to tie the river and the existing infrastructure into what's there. We knew we had to have easy access to parking, and a lot of it. We looked at enhancing existing access to the assets that are already here. Also, we need government support. We envision this as being a public-private type of a process, which is very similar to like the pickleball courts and other things that we've done here. We don't expect the government to do it all, but yet we're trying to get this buy-in so we can get this thing going and try to accomplish this as part of the comprehensive plan over the next few years. So we looked at a lot of the land downtown. We looked at a lot of the different areas, and the only real central point is where the two buildings are right above the watermark. That's where the auto tint place and then the other two-story building is. If you'll notice that location on that aerial, you can see exactly where it is. You can go to the next slide, I think. That's the area where it's green. So that area, that location, there's two existing old buildings. Really not very historically significant. But what it really does, that location allows us to leverage the access to the river park, which is the Rotary Park, and the other renovations and upgrades that the city has done over the last few years along that section of the river. That location also is proximate to the watermark. We found that the people at the watermark has requested additional space or growth areas, and what we're proposing next door will help provide them another area to go from. So the community support is also, we've talked with the chamber, Tracy. We've also talked with the watermark and different other groups recently. So we're just trying to keep this process going. So basically there's been no community park and gathering space downtown. The Rotary Park is really nice, but it's linear and there's no real place to gather. So from the original plans, which is where these two buildings are, was originally thought of as a place for the farmer's market. So we've tied into the farmer's market and other stuff. So here we go, next one. We have the farmer's market, Taste of Wisconsin, Arts and Peanut Fest, other new events, and provide additional space for watermark activities. Those were the core of what we're looking at in this possible facility. We also want to try and take into consideration energy efficiency, tie in with some modernist, but also keep a lot of historic design characteristics in to really emphasize what's historic in the downtown area. And so this is the original concept we came up with through the group. It just basically says a pavilion, some canopies, and just use the existing parking and don't really change a lot, but provide green space, provide an access to the water, provide access and easy access into the project off of Center Street, and to provide a focal point to the west side of the river in the downtown area. And let me see, what's the next slide? Here's an example I pulled from where I grew up in Tucson, which shows how the vendors in the farmer's market established their booth outside the canopy, and everybody who was shopping there was underneath the canopy. This is very, very almost necessary anymore because, I mean, I was at Taste of Wisconsin and it was hot and there was no shade. And so this is just an idea of what we were thinking about. And so let's see. We have Mark, you want to introduce yourself, please?
Mark Brzezinski, grew up here, born and raised in Beaver Dam. My whole family's been here since the hundreds. Know a lot of you in this room. Went to high school here in town and raised my kids here in town. Just wanted to give back to the community that raised me. So concepts for the group and kind of settled on one. Again, bringing historic value back to Beaver Dam. I'm huge on my family's big farmers and hearing stories of them building their barns with the stones out in the field. Swan Park was built very much the same way. They built what you had, used what you had in the community. You know, that's how you did it. So the design that I came up with, I kind of wanted to reinvent that, do it more modern with solar panels. Yeah. Hopefully we'll screen share it more.
And what we've done here is we're just putting together some concepts because we want to start the process going forward. We want to get input from the community, not only from the chamber and from the watermark, but everybody in the community to help make this a very central place that can facilitate bringing people downtown and provide a different venue for various activities that currently go on and that we could grow into. So Mark's going to pull this up now. I will try to explain it, or he can. So what we have here is we have a central pavilion with covered canopies on either side. What we're looking at is from the west to the east, which is looking at it from Center Street. Both canopies on either side are very similar to what has been put in down in Deerfield, solar canopies, which provide shade and areas for activities, but then also generates a positive impact environmentally to feed whether it be the watermark or other utilities that the city typically goes through. So what we have is we have a 3D rendering of this potential plan. The central part, Mark, you want to describe the pavilion and why?
So pavilion, the biggest memory I have growing up in this town was Swan Park. Everyone went to Swan Park. The pool was there. Pavilion was there. Back in the day, it was 2 stories. Renovation came through and they took out that second story. So I always loved looking at that building. I thought it was pretty spectacular to look at old photos going to museums here in town of Swan Park. So I tried to mimic what they did with the tower. I wanted a town square feel, so I put the clocks on the 4 sides. It does face north, south, east, west. Use the same type of granite stone that comes from the area that Swan Park has used. Again, that's just my artist rendering on this. And yeah, I have bathrooms on either side, centrally located under the canopy, so I have plenty of bathroom space for men and women. Again, talking about the Taste of Wisconsin, that's a pretty big population, people come out for that. Everyone is scrambling for a bathroom, do something clean, so each side has a men and women's bathroom that's large, also has the central utility room for the solar panels. That the solar panels will create, just real quick numbers on a low end of 480,000 kilowatt hours with that amount of solar panels. A typical home uses maybe 25 kilowatt hours a day. So this will produce enough power. We'll also try to get battery backups from Generac or another manufacturer to store the power for at night for uses. And then the rest can be sold back into the grid as power, so the city can make money with the solar power. Also provides the shade. All cement would have glycol running underneath, so there would be no need for salt or sand or snow removal on any concrete surface areas in the pavilion underneath the solar arrays or out in front of the sidewalk that would all have running glycol that would all be run through pumps through solar power. So it'd be completely self-sufficient, and when there isn't enough solar sun with that amount of rays, you have the battery backup to run all night long or for several weeks at a time with no sun. That long of solar.
So this is our initial concept. We're looking for input, not a lot today necessarily, but what we're looking for today is we need to have, I mean, we have community support that was proven through the last couple of years by all the meetings and everybody showing up. But what we're looking for now is to get a little bit of input and support from the Common Council as to, does this make sense and should we continue to work on it? That's what we're really looking for today. Any other comments, guys? Chico, anybody?
This is just something for future generations. It's going to revitalize that entire side of the road, I think, and partners up with the community center next door.
So
It's
that's
inviting.
What?
It's inviting, and it's also operational for the different markets and so forth that's going to be useful.
Right, and so it's multi-purpose. It will be we believe that it will actually generate positive income, not only between the solar, but also from rentals, so that it will be, at the end of the day, the investment should get returned over a period of time. We don't have any numbers, of course, yet, but it's something that we can start working on. Questions I've had from other people is, how long do you think it would take us to do this? Probably, I would hope that by the end of 26, we could have the plans in place, enough of the money raised to make commitments to get this thing done probably by the end of 27, early 28. So we're only talking a 3.5 year process maybe. Overall, the second question is, what's the cost going to be? Well, of course, we don't know those yet. We don't have the final design. We don't have any of that. We don't even know if this is the right design yet. But we think probably between property acquisition, the solar panels, and this pavilion, without a lot of things, we're looking probably 2.5 million, maybe. You know, a little bit more than the fire truck that just went on to, just was purchased recently. So it is a long-term investment for a facility that will benefit a lot of the community. And so that's what we're doing. So anything else, any questions I have right now from this presentation? Yes.
Thank you. I like it. But have you considered any other locations for something like this? I see Watertown is right on a major highway. Oconomowoc right on a major highway. This is sort of off of.
Yeah, those,
Highway
you're right.
go-
Those are on the major highway. We looked at the city property in between, well, next to the movie theater. I believe that's city, that grassed area. No, not that, but the parking lot behind it. So that was one area. Previously, we looked across on the east side of the river, taking down buildings over there. But we thought that would disrupt too much of the Spring Street facade and streetscape. We looked at the Beaver Dam Tire Shop. which is just south of the watermark. That is a possibility. That would be another possibility, but it moves it even further away from Main Street and downtown.
Right. It's not a really bad spot. I mean, because you got a lot of activity going between Spring Street and Center Street. You know, a lot of people walk through there.
Right.
Anyway, so yeah. Okay, thanks.
So, yeah, that's, I'll expand. We were trying to tie in with the pedestrian bridges, with the green space, with the Rotary Park, with the watermark, and this was the best location right now. We haven't approached the owners. We have different background gossip and noise as to what's going on with ownership on those two properties. But we think they're possibly available to be acquired over the next couple of years. Okay?
Alder Wild?
Just one question. How would this impact the taxi that's there? Will it at all?
There is I haven't checked on the taxes.
The taxi company.
Oh, the taxi company, it would have to be relocated at some point.
Okay, have you talked with them about that? Cause we're working with them right now.
They rent from the current ownership.
Pardon me?
They rent from the current owner of the property.
Yes, I know.
So I haven't talked with anybody over there.
Yeah, so we're working with them on new contracts to improve service, so we don't want to have them have to pay a lot more for some other locations. So that's just something to think about.
Okay, no, that's great.
Any other questions or comments? Alder Anderson?
I have a whole list. I have told the mayor I will behave myself. So feel lucky. Mike can attest to this. You already answered some of them. Have you approached these two property owners to see if they're even willing to sell?
We have not done we have no authority to approach people like that.
Okay.
At this point in time.
Okay.
You know, we have to get approval from the city to do anything before we overstep our bounds.
Okay. Just a point to that. If this was entirely private, you do not have to get approval from the city to approach people to buy properties if you're doing it as an organization.
True.
Now, if you want the city to do everything, yes, you would have to approach us first. So we'll move on from that. You have not approached these people, so you're kind of asking them or forcing them to move. That's an issue. If we do this and turn into a park, we're also going to lose commercial taxation and tax value to the city. Have you considered that? Do you know how much taxes these two properties pay?
In terms of real estate taxes?
Yes.
No, I do not.
Okay. Again, something maybe you should inspect. I did my research while you're doing your thing, and it was about $5,000 a year that will be
I would
out.
estimate that, yeah.
Okay. What's the ROI? You stated that you have no numbers, but you assume it's going to be profitable. How can you assume it'll be profitable if you have no numbers? Do you know how much you plan on renting the space for?
No.
Because our park shelters
Okay.
they rent for next to nothing.
I understand.
Okay, so you said solar, you could sell solar back?
We sold back to the system.
Yes, absolutely, but have you looked into that in the last 5 to 10 years?
Yeah.
Okay, do you know that
Residential, if I go and sell my solar energy to Reliant Energy residentially, they're gonna give me wherever they pay fair market.
yes,
That's different when it's a city. It's a city owned. If the city's involved, now the city can create their own energy, now they can almost dictate a price, negotiate a price with the energy company. So it changes from Little League to Major League Baseball at that point. So and with the amount of power, so we're looking at 480,000 kilowatts versus 80 kilowatts for a residential house. Residential house uses about 20 to 30 in the summer kilowatt hours a day. So an average house will throw back 50 kilowatt hours back into the system every single day. And that's money back to that homeowner. The city is going to have a substantially larger amount of payback coming back. So.
okay, and you didn't put together any rough estimate on what that would be?
No, because this was all.
Okay. You said the spot was chosen for access to the water. What do you envision access to the water to be? Just looking at it with like patio space? Or going down and dipping your toes in the water?
It fronts on the river. The Watertown, excuse me, common area has a dock down there and has a different river configuration. So they are really tied into it more. I don't believe there's a lot of tie-in other than being available and being around the water park.
All right, so just a patio to look at it.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Okay. Fair enough. I just want to know if you want to add a third kayak launch
No.
down there. Okay. That and no dipping your toes in the storm water. So that's good. That's about all I had. I would urge you to consider the financing of this as you move along though.
As we go
the
forward,
big
once we know a little bit more, we will. But we're here just for an initial, we think it's a good idea. That's what I'm looking for.
I
And
think
then we can provide a lot more data over the next month, 6 weeks, 6 months, a year, as we go through the process. We just want to know, can we spend our time and effort? And is it reasonable to expect support from the government? Whatever that looks like.
Alder Wild?
Okay, one other question I had is, have you actually talked to the people in the market? Because I did go around last Saturday and ask them if they wanted to relocate. And the majority of them love where they are, want to stay where they are. So, and also, if you're building this for them, got to remember that it's only Saturdays through the summer, only 8 to 12. So that's a pretty limited amount of time to spend a lot of money if you're looking at that as one of the reasons to change it.
Okay.
Alder Yads?
Right now we have 22, 23 parks. And we add this to the pile, so we'll have 24. Eventually, we're gonna have to sell parks to maintain what we have or hire more help, because it's just like we're always adding on, but we don't add any more personnel. And this is, I mean, in the back of my mind, I hate to say it, but this could be a homeless shelter too. In the summertime, we got people in the parks now sleeping and staying there. And I mean, this is just a perfect opportunity for them to be there. So, I mean, the idea is good, but I'm not crazy about the location here, but that's another issue. Thank you.
Okay.
Good. Alder Zopp?
I like your idea. I know we have a lot of development going into this area, right? We have the new condos going in. So the city is supporting development in this area. The area that you've identified it's odd, right? It just doesn't fit right. There's a lot of space we could do a lot of things with. I like how other communities utilize public access amenities with their riverfront. So I do like your idea. I like your design, how you tied in Swan Park Pavilion. I saw that. I like it. It's not up to me. You've heard other views, but you have, I support it. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And it's not me, it's the community. It's the people right here. I just got volunteered to be the spokesman because I have a large mouth.
Good. Other comments, questions? Alder Gansky?
Yeah, I guess full disclosure, I've been part of this group off and on over the last year or so. I haven't been to the meetings, I guess the last month or two, so it was really interesting to see the presentation and see how far the concept has evolved, because it was pretty much really basic on a sheet of paper last time I saw it. So thanks for putting this together. I know this was a lot of work to put together, so thank you for doing that. And I like the design. I like that you tied in Swan City Park with it. I think that's pretty awesome. I like the location. I do think that there are, could be issues with the properties that are there, and that definitely needs to be addressed and thought through. But I do like that it's a centralized location. The other thing I just wanted to mention about the loss in tax revenue there. I mean, presumably an increase in economic activity related to a structure like this in the long run would increase values downtown because and it's part of an overall design to downtown, not just something that stands on its own. And we've already seen increase in development downtown. So this would be one more piece of that puzzle. So anyway, thanks for coming and I also support this as a project, but I do agree that there are some issues that need to be worked through.
Alder Flaherty.
I really like the way this looks. I like the idea of this being a downtown centerpiece. I love that you guys took it upon yourself to tie it in with the Swan Park Spring House. Because before we had the round kayaker logo, that was our branding as a city. So that's awesome. I really like that. A critique I would bring is the canopies. When you look at the design, be mindful relative to the sun. I see it more often than not at events where they pitch a tent in the morning, come back in the evening. I don't know why the sun moved like that. And then the shadow's over there where no one can get under it. So really think about that a couple extra times before you pull the trigger, okay?
Right, well, this canopy here is designed to it's south facing, so it's maximized the exposure. It's got a 7/12 pitch on the roof, which is right for our latitude.
I can see that.
Okay. And these canopies are not, these are 40 feet across. So there's a lot of room.
The sun doesn't care.
I know the sun doesn't care. I moved here from Arizona. I understand the sun real well. But
I'm just saying, look at it 3 times.
We will look at it.
That's a frustration that I personally, at festivals and things have bumped into. So I just want you to pay a little extra attention. I'm not nitpicking or critiquing too much.
That location in the 3D space, so I can go from January to July.
My good man, it was a critique. I'm not trying to pull you apart.
We will address it. We will address that.
Just an idea, something I've experienced. I'm sharing my view with you. I'm sorry if it came over rough.
Oh, no. I experienced the same thing.
But ultimately for me, and as somebody who's seen a lot of bills with large numbers and proposals for bonding and everything come across my desk recently, it's going to come down to, can we pay for it? I'd love to see it come to fruition. I like your work so far. Please keep it up.
We will.
And please give us updates. Thank you.
Any other comments, discussion, or questions?
I got one more.
Alder Yeds.
After thinking about it, we ran into some issues with ground contamination. The middle building there used to be the EMC dealer in town years ago. And I don't want to buy into a contaminated spot. We got one issue now we got headaches with. And I don't want to buy into another one. We had Monarch Range. We got lucky on that one, but we got one on our hands. I just don't want to get tied into something like that. We got to make sure we do ground testing with the DNR, and we got to get a clean bill from them because they're different cats. So just want to make sure everybody knows about that.
And that would be part of, if we go to the next slide, I believe on my presentation. So basically what we're looking at doing is we're here today to determine city support. We're in the process of starting to draft a project plan once we understand our support, which will include doing environmentals, trying to negotiate, contacting property owners, doing all the different things that are necessary for a project like this to come to fruition over time, fundraise, properly and acquisition, and then implement the full plan. By that time, once we come through, we will have been in front of council, the common council here, probably 4, 5, 6, 8 times over the next year or two, just providing updates as to what we are. But today we were asking for, do we have general support or not? That's all I'm asking.
Alder Keel.
I just again want to thank the group for putting all your effort towards this, and I look forward to where it's going to go. I am eager to see more designs and figuring out all the questions that have come up. But I'm excited for this project. Thank you again for your time.
Welcome.
Alder Burnett.
You know, you do have my support. I like the project. I go downtown a lot for all the activities that go on downtown. Maybe some of these people in here don't, but I do. So I see what's going on downtown. And another thing about the farmers market, if they see this, they'll be running to it.
Well, that's one of the initial designs, was to be able to move it and allow it to grow.
Uh-huh.
Because right now in the parking lot across from UGA, it's just not, I go there almost every week, and it's not very user friendly from the vendor's point and
Yeah.
from our point. The other part is Tracy is in the back shaking her head. Well, they're in the process of trying to figure out if our design matches their needs for some of their projects and activities. So moving it from the parking lot to its own venue, the activities, whether it's the Taste of Wisconsin, Arts and Peony Festival, they were at the same weekend this year, but normally they're not. Plus other things, German Fest, other activities, other art projects, Winterfest, anything like that. This is open. And overall, the cost associated with providing 14,000 square feet under roof for different activities, or plus or minus whatever it is not that expensive comparatively. And by putting the solar in, hopefully it will make the long-term cost effect of the project less. Whatever it is, I don't know yet.
Good. Any other comments, questions, discussion? Okay, then I think it would be appropriate, thank you, Jim. I think at this point it would be appropriate if we could just maybe do a thumbs up or a thumbs down to give this group some direction. Why don't you give me a thumbs up if you feel the concept of a downtown plaza is something that you can support and that we should give the nod to this group to move ahead with more planning and discussion. And then, of course, thumbs down if you disagree. So can I see thumbs up or thumbs down? Okay, we have 8 out of the 12 that are here, just for the record. So I would say that's a yes to move forward and let us know how it goes. Thank you very much for all of your hard work and your efforts and your vision for Beaver Dam. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item up on the agenda. Discussion and possible action regarding changing charter ordinance to reflect committee of the whole versus current standing committees. And I believe Alder Anderson, perhaps you want to start us off?
Well, I guess that's how, my thought is we've had this discussion before of, do we want to continue to have 2 committee meetings at the same time before the main council meeting? The issue has always been, if you're not on the committee, you have to attend your own committee, and then if the other committee is having a discussion on something you're interested in, you miss out on one of there. You can't attend both at the same time. There's also a ton of redundancy, I feel. So when you have discussions, like at operations, we have discussions, and then it comes to the council, we either don't have discussion, or if you do, people on the operations may feel that, well, we've already been through this. I hear that a lot on the admin. It'll go through admin, it comes to the full council. I'm sure they get frustrated at me for asking so many questions, but I wasn't at the committee to ask the questions. So the idea is just to have one meeting. I think Larry, the attorney, said before we could do, you have the 2 committees still, but then you have one meeting called like committee as a whole. You essentially do the same thing, and then immediately afterwards, it's just a continuation, and then you have the council meeting. So you kind of approve stuff at the committee as a whole, and then it immediately goes to the council meeting. I think the arguments before would be like, oh, the meetings would last like 8 hours or something. It's really the same time because you're having the committee meetings and then followed directly by the council meeting. It might actually be shorter because you're not gonna have to have the discussion twice at the committee and then at the council meeting. So I would just like to see a vote of whatever we need to do to be down to one meeting. And then we can also, instead of having varying start times, we could just every time we're gonna meet at 6:30, and if we get done early, we get done early, but it's a constant start time. That might make it a little easier, and I just think meetings will probably go faster. That's really it, and yeah, I was just calling for a vote to see if people are in support. If they're not in support, so be it, I guess, but I just think it's a good idea. We keep talking about it and then it keeps going away and coming back, going away. I just wanted to take a vote on if we should do that or if we shouldn't.
Good, comments, questions? Alder Fisher.
I've been on both committees. I was on the council back in the 80s, and we had 3 committees. We then went to 2 committees, and now you want to go to 1 committee. If I thought this went, I just think this is going to make these meetings so long versus where we're at now, because the issues will be the same. We're still going to have admin, we're still going to have parks and rec, we're still going to have operations, and they're all going to have their own individual presentations for what they need. So instead of doing the 2 meetings at one time, you're saying, let's do all of this in 1 meeting. Well, how can you expect to cover what's being covered in 2 meetings in 1 meeting and have it take shorter? It don't make sense to me. Can somebody answer that?
Alder Zopp.
So I've learned whenever Alder Fisher and I are on the same side of something.
There's a problem then, no question about it.
Well, or we're an unstoppable force. If Alder Fisher and I, the stars align. I looked at our agenda that we went through today, right? We talked about the fire union contract. Well, our 2 minutes of conversation represents almost an hour. I was like 45 minutes. We talked about that in a committee for about 45 minutes 2 weeks ago. So you 7 were spared that. You were spared the investigations and the back and forth with Chief and Alder Burnett and the investigations and all that stuff. And what you got was the conclusion of our work. That happens again and again and again, right? We even have subcommittees sometimes for admin, right? I know there was, Jack, you were on the subcommittee for the salary and wage study. Before Mayor Mark, you were in admin. I think you were probably heading that committee. That went on for months and months, and whoever's not on admin is spared that, right? It's the same thing with operations. When I was chair of operations, we had investigations about street signage or whatever, or Nancy with the sidewalks on Rowell Street, right? That went on and on. Or what was it? The golf carts. And so likewise, we're in admin spared all that background, and we just see the culmination of your work, and we trust you, and I hope you trust us. So I don't see any reason to change what works right now, and having the committees meet separately and handle their business separately. So thank you.
Other questions or comments? Alder Flaherty.
I tend to agree with what's been said so far. I see merit in having people in a specialized group working on a specific group of business. And I tend to follow in my head that no matter what happens with a meeting of the committee of the whole, someone is going to have to sit through business that doesn't pertain to them, as Alder Zopp pointed to. And I don't think I'm necessarily in favor of the idea, except for it would be nice to attend the opposite committee if there's something on the agenda that interests you or your constituency. That would be nice. But I'm not sure the committee of the whole would be exactly the right situation at this point unless someone offers evidence to change my mind. Thanks.
Alder Olson?
Well, just on that thought, would it be possible if an alderperson or had the want to hear something on someone else's committee, that either that committee could start a little early or their committee could start early, so that, that would either be the late item or an early item? I mean, if we were communicating what we wanted to say, hey, there's this item that I'm really passionate about, that we could make allowances, right? I mean, that would be something that we could make work, correct?
Alder Zopp,
Mayor.
were you addressing this?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
We already do this with the city administrator. As a committee chair, we negotiate the time with the city administrator. And I have routinely flexed meeting times. Generally, admin would go earlier. So that we could have the city administrator early, and then, because our meetings are typically longer than operations, and then, operations would start later, and that's how we've shared the city administrator. So, I mean, in practice, I would look to mayor as well, but from experience and practice, we already do it with city administrator. If you come to me, anybody in operations and say, hey, I want to be there, I will do my best, and I will work with Joe, or whoever the committee chairs are. I hope they would do the same. So.
And this is just, off the top of my head, but if there are people who feel very strongly about attending, having an opportunity to attend both meetings, our current meeting schedule is not set in stone. So we could have, admin starts at 6:30 the first Monday of the month, and ops starts at 6:30 the second Monday of the month, and then in their off weeks, they meet on Tuesday night, or they, we can do whatever we want with the meeting schedule. So if there's strong feeling by this body that, yes, there have been many times when I would like to attend the other meeting. And I will tell you, just from my personal experience being on, because I've always been on admin, I've never been on ops, that if there was something on the ops agenda, I'd read the packet. If there was something that I was really interested in, then what I usually did is I would, email Todd or whoever, was the appropriate person. I would gather information as much as I could without attending the meeting, and then read the minutes after and talk to committee members. That's how I dealt with it. But again, our meeting schedule is not set in stone. We can change it if we want to. So, Alder Burnett.
I spend a lot of time at meetings. I don't want to spend any more. But I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but at our admin meeting tonight, there was, I guess there wasn't an op meeting tonight, and there was nobody from operations there, so.
Any other comments? Alder Bonnet, did I miss you?
One of the things I was gonna say on this subject was that if we want a committee of the whole, but we have 14 members, maybe there should only be 7 members. And, that was discussed here, should we look at council? And I'm not necessarily recommending that, but I'm saying, I think 14 members is pretty large for a committee of the whole. Half of it would be reasonable. In terms of what some of you said about, and I'm probably as big a violator, whatever this is, and I want to know why they made a decision at the administrator, we'll say, or vice versa. And it's like, maybe what we could do at the council meeting is have a little more explanation on the bigger issues. And I think we do that a little bit, but I don't know how you know, if somebody has a hot button issue, then it should be openly discussed. And that kind of can compensate for not having attend two meetings. I don't really like the idea of if I saw an issue on administrative that I would go there. That I don't have the continuity to do that. But I would have the continuity of asking the questions of why did you do that stupid thing? But no, I think that, so I am not I'm not for going to committee of the whole at this point. But I think we could, you know, think about, I mean, well, I can talk operation. If there's somebody who wants to attend an operations meeting, you know, we could, as Zach said, we could do it either beginning or end, and so they could go both places. But I think most of the time that is really not an issue. So, but I think I would kind of like a little more detail, you know, on well, the big thing tonight from administrative coming through. And, you know, I didn't read the 40 pages on the fire department contract. And I think that the fire chief did a pretty good job covering some of the highlights, but there are a lot of other major issues that were in there. And hypothetically, maybe Zach could have given us here's the highlights, you know, almost a duplicate of what the chief did. I don't know. It's just a way to give us more of a background. Well, the example tonight that I asked about that legal case with the fall, you know, I mean, it's not a silly thing, but it was a small thing, but yet most of us in this room had no idea what that was about, but we were asked to pass it. And, you know, so anyway, that's just my babble, but no, I think having it the way we have it now is working.
Well, Alder Flaherty?
Something Alder Bonnet said gave me an idea. What if we made space on the council agenda for operations committee wrap up from the chair or admin committee wrap up? Make space on the agenda for a little spark notes on what happened to the committee meeting. Just a thought. That's all.
Alder Olson?
I guess on that, I would really prefer it to be at the agenda or the item itself. Like I like the way we're currently doing it because I mean, I don't want a big synopsis of everything that went on. And then, you know, we're going to talk about it again. I'd prefer when it's germane to the topic that they're bringing up that recap. And I guess that's how I prefer it.
Alder Keel?
And I would like to second what Chris just said. Again, I feel like on admin, if we come to full council and Joe has a question, he asks it. I think we're happy to explain it, or Zach does a great job at explaining, and then we vote and move on. So I agree. I like how it is currently.
Alder Fisher?
You know, I think this is simply a situation where it's change for the sake of change. If it ain't broken, let's not fix this. We've been going on for a long time here. And yes, I think that the issue itself should be brought up and discussed like we're doing. But I would definitely never vote yes on this.
Okay, before we do sort of a thumbs up on this issue, I would like to comment. I'm really pleased because since I have become mayor, this issue has resulted in the most aldermen weighing in. And not every single one of you did, but almost every single one. And as the chair of the council, that pleases me because we need to hear everybody's voice as often as possible. So I just want to give you my appreciation for everybody who put in their 2 cents. So my hearing, if I had to guess, I would say the consensus is there is not a lot of interest going forward with this topic, but why don't we do a thumbs up? Give me a thumbs up if you are interested in exploring this issue further. And if you don't put your thumbs up, it means you are content with the structure that we currently have. So all those in favor of exploring change, give me a thumbs up. Okay, we have We have clear direction. I thank you very much. Finally, we now move to the next item on the agenda, which is, I'm sorry, Alder Anderson?
Although I was skipped over a couple times when I rose my hand, I do appreciate that it finally coming to a vote. This has been out there for 3 years. It has never came to a vote, even though I'm the only one in support of it, which is fine. But I simply asked for it to come to a vote. It's been 3 years in the making, so I appreciate it that you took the time put on there. It only took 2 emails for me to get this on here, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Very good. So finally, we're moving on to agenda item number 5, moving into closed session. Tracy, you want the honors here? Oh, I get to read that? Okay, I thought that was you.
Before we go,
Oh, sure.
just like last time, background info that can be discussed in open needs to be discussed in open. And the body needs to discuss why you're going into closed, why the negotiation necessitates going into closed, and then we can go into closed.
Okay, so Todd, that would be you, background information and why we need to go into closed session?
So this has to do with the Madison Street reconstruction project. It's the section from Chatham to Rowell.
What? We still aren't.
Well, technically, we're not in closed session yet. So yeah, so we're good. Yeah.
So during the design of this project, it became necessary to acquire an additional easement. Back in April, this came before operations. We showed them the new easement area, and they let us loose on doing the appraisal on the easement. So the appraisals come back, and that's what we would be discussing in closed session to further negotiate the acquiring the easement.
Okay. So then pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.851E,